This is going to be my review on the Leaving Cert Ordinary Level Mathematics Paper 2. So, this paper just dropped only about 10-15 minutes ago. I reviewed the higher level paper 2, and upon reading this paper, it appeared to me that they're using near enough the exact same questions, just slightly easier. So, I'll kind of show you what I mean when I go through the questions, but I feel like the SEC are getting very lazy and just copying questions over and changing some of the numbers around. So, question 1, talking about rainfall in Athenry, mean standard deviation, percentage decrease between two different times. That's all stuff you should have done. Time aplenty. And here is Exhibit A, so the use of the quartiles. So we have, there's the upper quartile, but it asks you for the lower and the interquartile. So simple calculations, but again, they're straddling both papers. That doesn't tend to be the case. Anywho, we have this fairly nice looking trigonometry question. So if you spent a lot of time doing trig, this question should be okay, just knowing that the angles add up to 180 and solving an equation, and then finding a value of x. And then this is just a standard sine rule. So we have, we're looking for P to R, so we have P to Q, its corresponding thing. So we just match up P to R, its corresponding angle, which we can work from the other two. So that's okay. Question 3 was honestly probably one of the easiest circle questions that's ever come up for ordinary level. As long as you know your basic unit circle, you can nearly guess that those are those equivalent circles in that table, and then writing down an equation of a circle, so that's okay. Now you have to find the radius of this circle and then 2 points that line the circle. So very, very bog standard, like some of the first things you do in the circle. So all hopefully straightforward enough for you guys at ordinary level. Question 4, another fairly standard line question. So finding the slope of AB and then writing down the equation, and then using this point here. So we have to find the area of ABC. That's essentially just there's 3 points, set one of them to be the origin, etc. Or you could just do base by perpendicular height, whatever you want to do. Although in fairness, in this case, it's not really going to work. And then we have a little theory question. So again, they're putting up a lot of these theory questions instead of asking to find numbers, just doing some investigative work and seeing if the statement is true. Okay, question 5, a fairly okay geometry question. So if you knew your angle theorems, this question should be pretty bog standard. And question B, I mean, they told you straight up to use Pythagoras, and then talking about a congruency of triangles, which is hopefully easy to see. They're effectively mirror images of each other, so there's a number of different things you could do to prove the congruency there. Question 6, using the empirical rule with the mean and standard deviations, that's all okay. And then probability between 34 and 90, and then some nice estimation work. So again, pretty normal distribution. That's a bloody mouthful. And then this is a bit of an interesting question here as well. You can work with this pretty straightforwardly. Like if the median's 9, well, the one in the middle has to be 9. Mode is 6, so it's there, and you effectively set up an equation. So that's a question that might have stumped people for a bit, but once you actually went through the logic, it shouldn't have been all that terrible. So yeah, probably one of the nicest short question sections there is, and there has been. If you did some decent study of at least the recent enough exam papers, so the ones that were post-COVID, you would have seen questions like these time and time again. So the ordinary level paper is a lot more predictable than the higher level paper. So overall, pretty solid. Now, here's Exhibit B, utilizing a tree diagram. Bit of a coincidence that they came up in both papers, but I'm not one to point fingers. So just asking for probabilities, fairly standard enough. And then finding a probability that Sean wins at least one. So consider the win, lose, and lose win cases. And then a bit of a strange enough, but manageable probability question about someone playing tennis. And then it went on to area and volume for whatever reason. So a bit of a reminder from paper 1 that they can combine topics in whatever way they want, pretty much. So yeah, this one is a bit of an oddball. And then using expected value. So here, that's relatively straightforward. If you see the word expected, you're pretty much obligated to use expected value theorem. So solid enough. Then question 8 was just, it just seemed like a fairly standard gathering of data problem, which then turned into producing our stuff on a pie chart. So hopefully you guys had your compasses and you were trying to spin the paper around. Okay, then stuff about correlation, that's straightforward. And then just talking about correlation in relation to the correlation coefficient. Then we have some population stuff. So this is another thing that's a pretty standard hypothesis test. They kind of gave you the steps into doing that. So you work out the population proportion, the error, smack the two of them together and you reach a conclusion. Okay, now question 9. A bit odd that a construction came up in a long question. This, as far as I know, hasn't happened before. It's usually in the short questions next to the geometry. So a bit odd that they put it here. But they did give you a hint at how to start it. So you construct the midpoint of the side. So the centroid is the intersection of the midpoints. And then here's another thing. So including enlargements. Now, enlargements are more common on the ordinary level paper than the higher level one. So yeah, it's a fairly normal one coming up here. And then, yeah, just comparing different sides. So all pretty standard. And then this bit of an odd looking diagram. But again, it's fairly unmanageable. You just have to break it up into different sections. That's all. And then just a bit of logic at the end. And then question 10 is just another weird looking geometry question, but overall okay. I mean, this question, they give you the distances to add up. And then working out the area of a triangle, so that's okay. Using the cosine rule and then the total area, etc. And then a bit of a nice looking combinations one that actually reminded me quite a lot of graph theory from applied maths, but as an ever. That's one possible cycle, so just giving other cycles, etc. So yeah. Again, this review, I make it a case where a lot of the time I misread the questions and kind of misinterpret them. So I do apologise if this review is not up to the standards of the paper ones. But overall, paper 1, I'm not sure if I gave a review for paper 1 a review score. I would consider, with the fact that there's a lot of financial maths in paper 1, I'd give it about a 6. In fairness, I'm overriding any scores that I said before. I'm settling on the scores now that I know paper 2. So yeah, I'd give it a 6, paper 1 at least. Paper 2 was slightly better, so it's the inverse of the higher level paper. I found the paper 2 one was more on par with what a decent exam should be. I mean, the section A was pretty much flawless. Okay, there was pretty much nothing wrong there. You know, it was questions that people saw time and time again that shouldn't have a much issue with. Section B, a bit odd, but again, manageable enough for the average student. So I'd give this one 7.5 as well. So this and the higher level paper 2 pretty much on par with each other, but this one was a lot better than the paper 1 in the ordinary level. So for anyone that's doing ordinary level and doesn't have any more maths to do, congratulations, you made it out of the maths pit hole. And I wish everyone the best of luck in their upcoming exams.